within the same hour of opening up a letter from the adoption agency with her beautiful little photo, I took a pregnancy test and found out I was pregnant.
Whoa.
So our daughter Taylor was 2. We flew to Ethiopia when I was 8.5 months pregnant. We adopted Kaya, who was 10 months. And I came back, and the next week, my first hot yoga studio opened and was birthed. And then a month later, Shay was born.
Welcome to Connection is the Medicine podcast. I'm your host, Eden Shante, and today I welcome a wonderful, heart-centered human being, Ellen Bradley. She's a yogi, a mother, an author, and has a deep passion for supporting women and girls and connecting with their intuitive wisdom. On today's episode, we'll explore her early journeys to Peru and Chile, adopting one of her 3 daughters, Kaya, in Ethiopia, 8 years of world schooling, and eventually settling in Costa Rica, where there's so much more to share. I know you're going to enjoy these deep and connected reflections with Ellen. So grateful that you're here. Let's dive into the show. Welcome, Ellen, to Connection is the Medicine podcast. It's really nice to have you here. And I want to begin by asking you what connection means to you in your life.
Thank you so much. Connection is story. And even beyond the power of language, connection is medicine to the heart. It's a shared smile. It's a shared story. It's a shared hug. Connection, I really believe, is the heart of living. And raising 3 girls now in the world for the last 9 years, world schooling and homeschooling them, I believe connection is the heart of education. An education that never ends. It's the path of being a human.
When you talk about your 3 girls, can you introduce them?
Yeah, so Shay is 17. Kaya is now 18, and Taylor is 19. So right in a row, 3 girls, wildly different, yet with a shared sacred sisterhood that they've really cultivated by learning and discovering themselves and exploring the world.
That's a powerful young motherhood time with 1, 2, 3 like that.
Yes, I was actually 8 months pregnant. Taylor was 2 years old, and we flew to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and adopted Kaya, who was just 10 months old. So within a matter of just a couple of months, I went from 1 daughter to 3 daughters, and also birthed a yoga studio in those 2 months.
Wow. Where was the yoga studio?
In northern Kentucky, right near Cincinnati, Ohio. I had trained and learned a yoga form called moksha yoga, which is a lineage of Bikram. And it originated in Toronto, Canada, where at that time my partner was playing professional basketball. And so I was just out of college, and I found this hot yoga studio in Toronto. And of course, it was a practice that I fell in love with, but it was the leaders. And a woman by the name of Jess Robertson was one of the founders of Moksha Yoga. And Jess really embodied what it was, not just in the hot yoga room, but what it was to live your yoga off of your mat, to be an instrument of peace, a powerful, truly connector, someone who would listen, who would share her story, but intimately connect. And this really was a golden seed for me. She has been one of the greatest mentors, sisters, women in my life that has inspired me. Not just opening yoga studios and my own practice on the mat, but in being a mother.
What led you to yoga?
Well, by all accounts, what led me to yoga was I could barely touch my thighs in college. I was playing tennis at a collegiate level at Villanova University, big runner, just always loved being in my body, active, but I never stretched. And so a yoga class was offered in the varsity weight room one day. It was my junior year, I think, and I realized how hard this was, and I could barely stretch. And then fast forward, when I graduated college, I found hot yoga when, again, my partner was drafted to the Toronto Raptors in Toronto. And, you know, the pro sports realm is a lot, and they're on the road a lot. And so I just found community at this sweet, hot studio in Toronto. And I really believe, you know, as you know, with the Purification Temple, that a hot yoga studio is like the modern day sweat lodge, right? The duality of breathing and sweating in unison just frees your mind. It opens your body, and it just started to really awaken my heart, and I fell in love.
Did you grow up more conventionally, and was this kind of segue into yoga something very different than you grew up with?
Very much so. You know, I grew up in the Midwest. My mom was a homemaker. My dad was a local physician, and I was raised Catholic. So I went to Catholic school my entire life, and then Villanova is a Catholic institution. Mm-hmm. And the foundation of Catholicism, I still believe, is my roots, meaning the value of respecting myself, having faith in life. But of course, my journey through life has now opened me to really see the umbrella that encompasses all religions. But it was a doorway when I stepped out of Kentucky and went away to college at Villanova. And then during my junior year, I chose to study abroad in Chile, South America, to really enhance my Spanish language skills. And I'd say that was my first really big choice to choose wildly different, as most people at Villanova were choosing to study in Spain to learn Spanish. But I was like, if I really want to learn this language, I need to go somewhere wildly different where nobody's going and throw myself out of comfort zone. And that's what I did. And I think that was really one of the biggest and first portals to opening my mind and really opening my heart to the world.
I imagine relocating to South America, to the south of South America, I imagine. I mean, that's a long way from home and a completely different culture than Villanova. What was that like, and how was that adjustment?
It was so hard. It was really hard. Well, number one, I had studied Spanish for many years. And until you go to a Spanish-speaking country, you actually then, I was like, do I even know this language? You know, nobody spoke English as I expected, but it was really hard. I was very homesick. But I also realized then my inner willpower. You know, I was born a Taurus, so my mom always likes to say I came into the world fast and furious. I've definitely always done things on my own will and drive. But this was probably the first reminder of, I'd say, my physical connection and my strength within, because it was hard. There was definitely times that I questioned and was like, maybe I should go back home. You know, I had left my tennis season at Villanova, and yet I stuck it out, and I really dug deep within myself. And it was there that I connected to bravery to go and start to travel. I went to Peru on a weekend to go and see Machu Picchu, which, you know, I had heard of. And
was that a long journey from where you were in Chile?
It was a couple-hour flight. And then, of course, when you land in Lima, then you take the small little flight to Cusco. But it was one of the most powerful, heart-expansive, heartbreaking moments that I had first encountered in my life.
Really?
Because I had never
At
really...
Machu Picchu?
It was more the culture of Peru.
Okay.
Because I had never been exposed to poverty like that, poverty of third world. I had been exposed to poverty in inner cities of America, but I had actually never really seen children that were living on the streets and filthy and begging for food and money. And it cracked my heart wide open. And I can remember feeling really guilty, Eden. Like, I can remember being there. I was just 20 years old, and I felt guilty because I was like, I was really questioning why I had been born into the life I had been born in. And here my parents were spending so much to send me to this incredible private institution to study. And I was like, you know, why would I continue to have them do that? I should just stay and help and volunteer. Like, I really started to question, how we are all born into different platforms
Yeah.
and different lifestyles and the reason why. And encountering that most of the world lives like this and how privileged we are to be born in America and to be able to go to a university. Mm-hmm. And so I was in a very deep state of reflection, and it was difficult. I had a really hard time going back actually to Villanova after that semester abroad and having encountered such poverty and knowing that people live like that. Yeah. But at some point was the switch. As we know, it's like we're reminded that we're given these gifts and born where we are and with opportunity to use that to be of service and to make a difference in the world. And I remember leaving Peru and feeling called in my heart that one day I would return to be of service, to live there, to adopt. I didn't know what it was. I just knew something at that young age I had committed that I would make a difference and use whatever opportunities I had to do that.
You're speaking to this beautiful thing that happens with travel. It's like in 1989, I did my first journey to India. And it really threw me in a way similar, I think, to what you're sharing. Seeing that level of poverty, going through slums in India where there were millions of people living. And for several days, it was hard to even speak because of how deeply that touched us. And it's like this breaking of the American bubble that happens with travel. It's like so many of us are so used to all that we have been given, all the privilege that you have shared, and all the resources and all the abundance that so many do have, not everyone. And how when you go and experience a place like Peru or India, just completely pops that bubble and helps you to expand your perception of life and possibility and begin to kindle those flames of, how can I be of service? I've been given so much. I didn't know I was given so much because it was the air I was breathing. And now here I am with that knowledge of I have so much and others don't. How can I share? And so it sounds like you had a similar experience.
Yeah, those catalytic moments that are like, they ignite something. Sometimes you don't realize until you reflect back on life that these are the portals, like you say, that you step through and you expand and you never go back. And then that leads you forward. And I feel like that was probably one of the first portals that I walked through that opened my mind and my heart and kind of just led me onward.
So you were finishing up your Villanova time, and then you began traveling quite extensively with Michael in the NBA. And then tell me about Ethiopia. What led to Ethiopia?
Well, while Michael was still playing, we had our first daughter, Taylor. She was born in Philadelphia. And I always had this inkling to just adopt. I knew that I wanted to have this beautiful multiracial family to open our hearts and our home to other children. And so when we applied to adopt, for me, I really wanted to adopt from Latin America or South America because of my Spanish background and my experience there. But at that time, Ethiopia, one of the poorest countries in the world, and there was so many children. Many people didn't actually want to adopt from there because African-American child, which, to me, it didn't matter. A child's a child. And so we applied, and within about 4 months, we were referred Kaya. And within the same hour of opening up a letter from the adoption agency with her beautiful little photo, I took a pregnancy test and found out I was pregnant.
Whoa.
So our daughter Taylor was 2. We flew to Ethiopia when I was 8.5 months pregnant. We adopted Kaya, who was 10 months. And I came back, and the next week, my first hot yoga studio opened and was birthed. And then a month later, Shay was born.
Wow.
So
I don't know why, but I
Fast
got
and furious.
chills. So what was that like going to Ethiopia and going through that process and finding Kaya? Like,
Life-changing. I have to be honest with you, Eden. I didn't really think too much. I will say I am purely heart and intuitive led. I opening the first hot yoga studio in the Midwest. I didn't have a business plan. It just felt like it was the right thing to bring this vehicle of health, of community, of peace to this area that didn't have it. Adopting Kaya, the adoption agency, gave us a list of books to read. And I opened the first book and I'm like, if I actually continue reading this, I will never adopt internationally. All the reasons why not.
they try to make it hard. They want to
They want
really
you to
make
be
sure.
aware, right? And totally understand that. There can be a lot
Yeah.
of concerns mentally, physically with children, but I think the reality is it's like anything in our hearts. If we know, we know. And that doesn't mean it's going to be a smooth ride and a smooth path. There's going to be great challenge and resistance. But if it's what your heart calls and it's deep in your intuition, it'll all work out. And so that's how Michael and I both approach this, that it's like, I know this is right. This beautiful child, she's meant to be in our family. I didn't think much of going to Ethiopia. I was preparing to open a hot yoga studio. I was also pregnant. We just flew there.
Now, Ethiopia, at least when we were growing up, was a place of like drought and starvation. It was, I don't know what it was like at the time that you went there, but that I think is one of the poorest places on planet Earth.
I mean, it makes my eyes well with tears. I had never seen. Now, I saw poverty, as I shared, in Peru, which is third world. But Africa and Ethiopia is a whole different, because you literally are seeing people that look like they're starving to death and there's no food. And, for a lot of the children that needed adoption, they're left on the streets. So mothers have babies and they leave them on the streets between an orphanage and a police station because they literally have no food for them. And so arriving there and seeing women who are trying to breastfeed like a 6-year-old child because there's no food. And I'll just never forget that. And, when we arrived into the orphanage where they had 2 or 3 babies and cribs, and the woman went over the nurse, and they were such loving nurses, such loving. They loved Kaya. Her name was Melat. So her name is Kaya Melat, but they called her Melat, and they picked her up, and you can tell like they just loved her to pieces. And she had the brightest smile, and they put her into my arms, and she stroked my hair. She just stroked my hair, and our eyes caught each other, and it was like we knew each other. Wow. I'll never forget that. And I never thought really of reincarnation or past lives too much. I hadn't, but I knew. We had reconnected. We knew each other, and she was meant to be in our lives. And here I found myself returning to Northern Kentucky, predominantly Catholic and white. And now I was mothering across race and privilege and pain. And this really was such a pivotal moment to shift my whole mindset.
Wow.
And how I saw and viewed motherhood, having a multiracial family. And how would I approach this in education and living, and what was needed and what wasn't? Because I had just adopted a child from a country that has nothing. And how were these children raised? Wild and in nature, not rooms full of toys and stuff. And I'd say, Eden, Kaya really is the greatest. I mean, all 3 of my girls are the greatest spiritual teachers in my life, but she really was the catalyst to shift everything and how I approached motherhood.
I bet. And so what happened next after you had these 3 kids at home, and what was the next choice point for you?
Yeah, we were in Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati for a while. And as we all do as parents, we want to give them the greatest opportunity, try to put them in the best school and give them all their stuff that they want. I mean,
Yeah.
even though I had this awareness consciously, I still kind of led that path. And like, we put them in a great school and they were young. And right away I was like, this doesn't feel right. Like, it was a great Montessori school in Cincinnati, a bit more multiracial and diverse. But I kept looking at Kaya and I'm like, she has such incredible gifts. She's an artist. And I was raised, not really brought up around art and music. But I watched Kaya, and from a young age, at age like 3, she could crochet and knit. She'd weave her hair. She'd braid her hair on her own. She was singing. Like, this child was so vibrantly alive in her artistic abilities. I was like, she doesn't need to be learning her numbers and like memorizing words at age 4 or 5. She needs to be just in the space where her creativity was allowed to flow. And that's when we shifted to a Waldorf school. And of course, that changed our lives as parents.
How many years did you do Waldorf?
We did Waldorf for about 3 years until I started homeschooling. And Waldorf really was that next portal that opened us to see nature as such a powerful part of our lives. And in parenting, nature is one of the greatest classrooms. And truly, I actually only started homeschooling Eden because their dad took a job about an hour and a half from our home. And I knew that if we really wanted to keep the container of our family together and maintain like rituals of cooking together and doing prayer time at night and connection time, that I needed to shift our family rhythm so that we could be together. And that's essentially why I started homeschooling. I mean, I didn't necessarily want to homeschool. I was teaching yoga. I was leading these 3 yoga studios. I was like in my path. Like I was doing what I loved, leading this community. But I also knew that mothering was first. And so I took this year as like kind of a test run. I'm like, okay, we're going to just be with Michael and travel throughout Kentucky, do all the parks and like try this homeschooling year. And academically, I'd say I probably wildly failed. But in life and in experience, it was wildly successful. And it blasted open all the doors of what I thought of maybe was education.
So you had a really unique, unconventional educational experience. I mean, I went through solid public school growing up, and here you are beginning in Montessori and then going to Waldorf, where we send all of our kids. And I'm a huge, huge fan of Rudolf Steiner and the container that they create for children and creativity and problem solving and art and nature. It's just really connecting with the souls of the children. It's so beautiful. And so you went from that and then to homeschooling, and then what then branched from there? Because I know, but our listeners don't know, is something.
So let's backtrack a little. I always had this wild dream since I had these 3 little girls to sell it all, like just this fantasy, sell it all, like Dora the Explorers, take a backpack and walk the world together. And I kept saying it to their dad, Michael, and he'd be like, you have the craziest, most wild ideas. Never. And I'm like, wouldn't it be so freeing if we just sold all this stuff, we got rid of it all, and we just went simply. And so finally, when the girls were 8, 9, and 10, he was kind of at a crossroads of his career, if he wanted to continue on to college coaching or do something different. And he paused at that moment. A mentor of his, Jay Wright, who was the basketball coach of our alma mater, Villanova, was a really powerful friend and mentor in Michael's life, and he had just won the championship after nearly 15 or 20 years of coaching. And he called Jay Wright a few days after Jay won this NCAA championship, because Mike was at a crossroads, and he asked him about the college coaching realm. And Jay said to him, Mike, if you don't need to get into this, don't. He's like, you've got a beautiful wife and 3 amazing daughters, and yeah, here I am, a college coach that won it. He's like, but I've also missed out a lot of my kid's life. And it's not a job that really supports the family unit. So there was this pause and this crossroads, and I said, okay, if not now, when? let's just sell it. We can always replace it.
How many years of homeschooling were you into when
Only
this?
one, and it
Okay.
didn't go very well academically. But the girls were happy.
Yeah.
I mean, so now they were 8, 9, and 10, right?
Yeah.
And they were like awake in wonder. They were adventurous. They loved being outside. We were having fun. And I was like, let's just do a year field trip. No plan. Let's just walk into the world and try this. We were like, let's just sell it all and go. And I remember sharing with my mom, we had just bought my childhood home and redid it. And here we are in this kind of new house. And she was like, well, you better just wait. And it might be about a year or two before your home sells. We put the house on the market and Spirit wanted us to go. Within a month, the house sold. We had a whole house sale. Everything was gone. And within 3 months, we had a one-way ticket to Fiji. And really no plan. It was truly a journey by heart. The only thing that I visualize is that we would walk our girls into the world to discover the world and understand humanity, the cultures, the religions, the environments. And that through this, our girls would know that they weren't just girls being raised in Kentucky or in America, but they were global citizens and that the world was their home. And the most powerful thing is that as we walked the girls through the world and I walked alongside, right, through the mountains and the markets and the challenges of scaling volcanoes and walking through leach field mountains in Sri Lanka, as the girls discovered the world, they discovered themselves.
Yes.
And it was through the power of human connection. And this was the greatest classroom and still is. 9 years later, I never put them back in school, and I never thought I'd be homeschooling or world schooling my girls for 9 years.
And so you went to Fiji for how long? And then what was after Fiji? What were your major stops?
It's an amazing thing because we kind of landed in Fiji as a soft landing. Now, we left Kentucky, so we weren't ocean people. We didn't even know how to snorkel. And we landed in Fiji because there was a beautiful, incredible resort, the Jean-Michel Cousteau Resort, so Jacques Cousteau's, and it was all about education for families around the ocean.
Really?
And we really wanted to understand the ocean.
Was this Jacques Cousteau's son?
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's this incredible laboratory of learning for kids and families. And what's beautiful about this, we never planned this because there was never like any way the curriculum should unfold. But the ocean there was opened as our great classroom. And it gives me chills now because it's like, wow, the ocean covers the majority of our planet. And when you dive into the underworld, and eventually the girls got scuba certified, we just felt so much more a part of this planet when we were a part of the ocean.
It's huge.
It brings me chills. It makes me cry.
I have chills. I've already had chills several times already today.
And I never thought about that. I never thought that that's why we landed in Fiji, because from Fiji, we went to...
What year are we talking?
This was 2017. And that first year, we kind of, honestly, like, we'd sold it all. So I knew that all I was going to pass down to my girls was a lifetime of experiences and memories and some well-traveled Lonely Planet books. And so that's what I had, was my shoestring on a budget, Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
And I loved Lonely Planet because they always have these pages that is like off the beaten path in every country. So it's like, they're already kind of rugged what they suggest. But then when you go off the beaten path in those pages, it really takes you. You got to take trains and buses. And so I love this because I really use this as kind of a compass of diving deep into connection of the cultures and the people and the lands. And so we left Fiji and we went to New Zealand and then Australia and up through Bali, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, the Maldives. And that was kind of our first path.
Beautiful, beautiful collection of places.
Yeah, and I think that was the first journey. And then we went through Latin America. But that first journey, we were wildly out of comfort zone, and I loved it. We were we were like that rainbow family that traveled throughout Southeast Asia. They never seen somebody who was 7 foot tall like Michael. And then of course an African American, not many African Americans in Southeast Asia, and then the blonde girls. And then we had somebody that was actually capturing, Ricky traveled with us, who was capturing our journey so that we could share our journey with our community that we had left behind in Cincinnati and bring the world to people who might never discover the world.
Now, I want to fast forward just a little bit since you brought this up, the idea that you chronicled this journey. Tell us a little bit about your present projects so that our guests know how you are sharing about this world schooling.
Almost 7 years I've been working on a film called Untethered, and it's about redesigning life, reimagining education, and really thinking about the power of connection that lies beyond our comfort zone. Because so often it's hard to get out of that box, whatever conditioning it is, and step beyond, right? People often travel, but it's like you travel to kind of just peer in. But what happens if you become a traveler?
Yes.
And you step into other people's worlds?
Versus being a tourist.
It's
a whole different bag.
And this was the heart of World School. It's a big movement now. A lot of people do World School, and they World School in their own ways. But often it is about like just going to a place and kind of just looking in. Versus for me, it was really about me facing my fears and saying yes to being out of comfort zone, to step my girls into worlds where people live wildly different. And to sleep alongside them and to go into homestays and stay on straw floors, even when I didn't want to, and stay in the jungles of Thailand on rice farms where, you're filthy, but you're immersed in the culture and you're deeply connected with the people so that you can feel the hearts, the belief systems, who they are. And this is the education. The education isn't about seeing the sights. It's not about seeing the Taj Mahal and the temples. Yes, it moves you.
Yeah.
But it's about feeling.
Yeah.
It's about listening to the stories, seeing people's struggles, and feeling the embodiment of resilience and faith in people that really have challenges.
Were you able to stay in areas long enough to develop relationships or friendships, or was it more you had deep connections with people, but you were also flowing?
It's an interesting thing because time's an interesting thing, right?
Yeah.
I think that, Eden, we didn't stay too long in places, but we were so open-hearted.
Yeah.
That friendships and real connection happen like that.
Yes.
Because often we go into places and we're guarded. And we're kind of still are peering out. But I will say, this World School was my yoga practice off of the mat. And I say that in a way that, yoga is about connecting inward, but within that connection that we fostered to ourself, we feel that deep connection to each other on a soul level.
Yeah.
And so off of my yoga mat, this was the experience of World School. I really walked through the world with such an open heart that I didn't have any boundaries. Like, I just love humanity. Like, it makes me cry. I love human. I love being open to listen to the story.
Yeah.
And to be out of myself and like challenge myself and dive myself into places wildly different that do challenge me out of comfort zone. To right away just feel on a soul level connected to people. So we fostered such incredible relationships because we were all in right away with open heart. There was no boundary, like there was no walls.
How did Michael and the girls handle all this?
So it's interesting, right? Because our girls, our children, model what we model.
Sure.
Right? So if I'm scared and I don't want to do something, they too are on guard. And I'll say that's where I think in a relationship, Michael and I kind of started to split. He was very much on guard. Very much wanted to just peer from the outside. It was hard for him to step into uncomfortable situations. He used to laugh at me a lot. He's like, you kind of Oprah everybody. You ask so many questions, Ellen. And I'm like, because inquiry is the heart of education.
I would agree with you.
Inquiry is the heart of being out of yourself. And yes, I did ask loads of questions to everybody because I just really cared and I wanted to understand.
Yes.
And this is connection, inquiry. It's not about sharing. It's actually about stepping into somebody else's world and opening up to listen and to question. And so it was an interesting kind of juxtaposition there, right? Like the contrast, because sometimes the girls were closed when they saw their dad closed. I was always just open and, come on, we're going. This is like, yes, this is difficult. Yes, I don't want to summit this mountain. Yes, I don't want to go sit on this dirt floor and share a meal, but this is actually what this journey is about.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the girls were little. They, it was a beautiful thing that we started when they were 8, 9, and 10, still in the wonderment years. If we started when they were teenagers, it would have been different. But I will say, Eden, that I know, then I see it in them, that this wildly different journey of 9 years, they might not remember all these poignant memories that I remember.
Yeah.
But they're all golden threads woven into the tapestry of who they are.
Oh, without a doubt, there's a massive energetic download and a perceptual shift from how many of us grew up. So you're working on a project now to share more details about this journey that you were on.
Yeah, so the documentary is called Untethered, and we're in the final stages of just finding a great distribution for this. And I really see this as the kind of the point of the spear to kind of open up. What really is it to redesign education? Because we're in such a powerful time of this world, right? We know this.
Yes.
That structures are being dissolved, systems are being dissolved, new currencies are being created. And yet, the foundation of all of this is education. So if we're recreating currencies and new systems for the world, who's going to work these jobs if we're not recreating the heart of what needs to be created? And that is education. Yeah. And so I'm just really passionate about this because we know with AI and everything that is coming into this new world, we have to shift how we see education for our children.
Absolutely. Have to.
We have to. It's, it starts with consciousness.
And connection.
And connection.
And relationship.
It's
and
everything.
Time and nature.
Nature. It is, yes. And it's an unlearning, right? I mean, I have to tell you, as I shared, I went to Catholic school my whole life. I was raised in the Midwest. I wasn't raised this way. But what happened was it was an unlearning for me as a human on my yoga mat in that portal of a hot yoga room with almost 20,000 hours of sweating and breathing. That was like the dissolving of what was, the letting go. It was an unlearning.
Yes.
And that was really the seed of what allowed me to step forward in a conscious way to do differently as a mother.
And so how did you then transition to Costa Rica? What led you from your world travels to then deciding to come here where we are now?
So it's a funny story that about a month after I opened the hot yoga studio and had adopted Kaya, and then my daughter Shay was born, I was, as you can imagine, like in the fire, hardly sleeping, teaching lots of yoga, just in it. And my mom suggested I go to an astrologer, which I had never been to. And I show up and she's like, do you know what Mercury in retrograde is? And I said, no. And she's like, well, per your chart for the next 8 to 10 years. So this is a very chaotic time, but I share this with you because it's how we approach chaos, right? Mm-hmm. Do we react to it and it can affect us physically, relationship, or do we learn to harness it and interact with it to grow? And then she says to me, and Kentucky won't be your home. Cincinnati's not going to be your home. Your home is going to be around an ocean. And I was like, Florida. She's like, no, it's out west. And I was dreaming. I was like, well, I'd been to Hawaii. And she's like, no, you will know where your home is. And it might not be for many years, but it's where a mountain or the jungle meets the beach. And it's very close to the equator. And I was, swarming in hot yoga and diapers. And I was like, well, that's great, but I can't even see where that is. Fast forward our second year of travels, we decided to do Latin America and South America. And I never wanted to come to Costa Rica. I felt like it was like too Americanized, like Mexico, but there was a great Spanish immersion school for the girls. Had never heard of Nosara. Mm-hmm. And Michael was like, I found this great school in Nosara, Costa Rica. And I'm like, look, I don't want to go to Costa Rica, but we'll do it for the girls. Yeah. And we landed in Nosara and walked on to Playa Guiones. And as we both know, Guiones means script, where people come to rewrite the script of their lives, to literally write scripts of books and songs and film. I stepped onto the beach in Playa Guiones. And it was like I was charged. I looked out and I was like, I've landed home. Wow. And that memory that I had not thought of in 9 years of the astrologer came to me. Mm-hmm. And I knew I was home. And then I reflected and I'm like, yes, I was thrown out of retrograde when we sold it all and traveled the world. It was this epiphany moment, like, wow. And so that's how we landed in Costa Rica. And right away, we all loved it, but we continued to travel and backpack. And we came back 6 months later and kind of made some roots and settled in and created home. Wow. And then the whole world shifted in COVID. And we decided to stay in Costa Rica. A lot of people left, a lot of expats. And we decided to stay. And we learned how to surf.
That's when you started learning how to surf, all of you.
We all learned how to surf. I told our family, I was like, we're going to do a 30-day challenge. We used to do 30-day hot yoga challenges at the studio. And I was like, we're doing a 30-day surf challenge. Yeah. Found the most fantastic surf coach, Luigi, here. And that July of COVID, we went out every morning. We would turn on the Beach Boys. Everybody going surfing. That's how I woke the girls up. 6 a.m., we were out on the waves. And Shay, my youngest, would cry. She was terrified of the waves. And she was 12, 13, so she was older. And she was like, I hate this. I'm so scared. And I was like, look we're facing our fears together. I didn't want to be out there either. I was like, it did not interest me, honestly, Eden, but I wanted to do it with the girls and as a family, learn something and face our fears. Mm-hmm. And it changed our lives.
Now, was Michael still traveling a lot at that point?
He was not. No, he had to retire, and we were all here together as a family. And
so you did a lot of this, what you're talking about, this world schooling. You did it together.
Yeah, we did it together. Yeah, we saw the world together for the most part. And it was, as what happened with a lot of families during COVID, our family too became fractured. And it was hard. We were a really tight unit. And, we had lived a lot of life together. We had taken a lot of adventures, been broken open through challenge and travel. And, I think that travel awakens you in different ways. Mm-hmm. And I was awakened to a greater call of my soul, honestly. Like, I just fell in love with the world. Mm-hmm. I fell in love with humanity. Something was stirred within me. Not just as a mother, but like my call as a leader in the world, as a teacher in the world. And it's hard to be a pro athlete. You're very conditioned. You only make it to the pro realm because you've been conditioned most of your life like that. And that is how Michael was raised. He had never taken a family vacation of adventure. Mm-hmm. And so with deep compassion, I understand that I came into his life and we came into each other's lives in a way to bring freedom, right? He walked into the world with me with our girls, sold it all. I know not many men would do that and say yes to this fiery wife that's like, let's do this.
Wow.
And so I'm so grateful. And yet at the same time, basketball is the heart of who he is, and it's his gift to share to the world. And we shared that a lot. We created something called Namaste and Play when we were traveling, where Manduka Yoga and the MBA sponsored it with us, and we brought yoga and basketball around the world to untouched corners and into villages and hillsides. And it was a beautiful way to share our gifts as we were traveling, so that it wasn't just about like being a parent, because we knew that we had more to offer.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful to see that we could share our gifts together. But I think COVID, when you're rooted in one place and then you have challenges as everybody did, it just kind of fractured us in a way that, challenged our relationship and trust. And so I ended up staying in Costa Rica, then being a single mama, and he left to go continue his path of basketball and share and teach basketball with the NBA. And so for the last 3 years, that's been my journey of like motherhood alone and kind of re-navigating being a single parent, but still forging forward with this education that we both aligned and believed in, which is world school.
Yeah. And what happened within your heart around that transition?
When your heart breaks open so deeply, you can't really plan for that, right? Like I valued marriage and commitment to marriage and thought I'd be married to the same person my whole life. So you never really know what you're going to do until that happens. Mm-hmm. But I think what it was really, Eden, a testament to my practice of yoga, my spirituality, because it really rooted me in love for myself and not throwing any, how do I say, daggers at somebody else. It's like forgiveness came right away because I was a really great wife and I'm a very dedicated mother. And what it returned me to was to deeply just root into love for myself and for the girls, and to hold that container of forgiveness and love, and not go outward with it. And so that had been and has been the last 3 years of my life, like holding the container of love for my girls and for myself to heal and to be the best mother.
What about trust, and not so much in men or Michael, but trust that you'll be cared for, because here you are now on your own? What was that like? What's that been like for you?
Yeah. It's every day. It's every breath. As I walked into fear through taking the girls through the world, right? Like I faced so many things that scared me. But it's like the more we walk through fear, the more fearless we become.
Yeah.
And fearless leads to trust.
By meeting that which we're afraid of.
Truly.
And knowing that we're okay once we have met that which we're most afraid of.
Yeah. And I remember reflecting with a really dear friend in Costa Rica who was asking about how the girls were. And she said, Ellen, I don't think you realize, but by taking your girls through this journey and facing challenge physically and them cultivating resilience, adaptability, she's like, do you see how resilient they are even when, not that it wasn't easy with their dad leaving and a family being fractured, but she reminded me that because of the way that you've raised them in the world, facing challenge and seeing people suffering and seeing the resilience in humanity, they are resilient.
Yeah.
And it like brought chills to my body. And it's like, we could read that in books and we could read it to them in stories, but like, as we both know, we have to embody it. And that was what the journey of World School gave my girls. Yeah, they learned about the ecosystems and foods and cultures and religions, but it's these elements of forgiveness, of resilience, of adaptability, of empathy that have been the golden fibers woven into them. Yeah.
So tell me more what it was like, once again, to have the support of a partner, to be co-parenting, and to be going through all this together, and now going through it on your own. What resource did you call upon? How deep did you have to go into despair?
I mean, you're thrown into darkness, right? You're thrown into the fire. And the greatest tool I had of trust was my own inner resource of breath. That sounds so simple, but it's like
No.
my practice is core. It has been core. I mean, I am disciplined in my spirituality and my practice. I wake at 4 a.m. and I roll onto a yoga mat, even if I feel broken open, and I lay there and I cry. And I land in the awareness of breath, of spirit that is my current of life force. It's my connection to source. It's my connection to life in this moment. And I land in that to feel. And to feel held and to feel trust in life, right? We can get so swept up in all these self-help, and life is hard. But I feel like in some ways in the modern world and in the West, there's an overindulgence in like self-help and self-care. And I say this not to judge, but I say this in a really compassionate way.
Yeah.
Because I've walked through places of this world, as you have too, and you see people with like nothing, with such great suffering. Women, you know, and the tribes of Ethiopia that like literally shift and like have to rebuild their homes and scour for food and hold one another up and have no means of a currency yet. You know, currency is relationship. Currency is their cattle they have. And they're
Currency.
so joyful and they're so trusting in life with nothing. And you know what? They don't have time to sit in self-help and self-indulgence and like, they just move forward with trust in life, connection to the planet, connection to source, nature. They are in service to each other, their community, in service to stewardship of their land. And this really was a resource for me, Eden. My travels that broke me open to seeing how others with almost nothing live and forge forward. Far harder than I had it, of just, you know, being a single mom.
Yeah.
And that really was a golden thread for me of courage, of bravery, of trust for life. My own practice every day of just landing in breath and breathing through the emotion and breathing through the fear, the uncertainty, but then just feeling held by life and not allowing myself to get swept in the worry of the mind, because that's what happens, right? Like, I'm like, how am I going to go forge this alone? How am I going to stay in Costa Rica, world school? Like, it's like, just land where you are. And I stayed tuned into my heart. And I really believe that was the greatest factor and the greatest gift to keep me anchored day by day, breath by breath, and to continue to just take this journey forward, was to be in my heart with spirit, with breath. This is the trust. And it's not some big grand plan. We have to start with in every breath, every day. Yes, then we can go to our ayahuasca, which changed my life, and a medicine ceremony. But like, if we simplified it all, and we watch people around the world that have forged forward in great suffering, They have faith in life. They have connection to land. They have stewardship of land. They have connection to community, to sisterhood,
In spirit.
and spirit, source.
So, Ellen, you were just making a really beautiful point during our very short break. And that was that if you want to find trust, you really can't stay in the story of the mind. You have to go to the heart. Tell me more about that.
It seems so simple, yet it's so profound. And I think that people have so much fear and not trust in life because we're all living here. We're all living from here and then going here. We have to live in our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
This is the seed of it all, heart-led. And from here, the brilliance of our mind follows. But if we live in our mind daily, in the intellect, in the thought, in the stories, in the narratives,
Yes.
you don't have trust.
So tell me and our listeners, what does it really mean to live in the heart? What does that mean to you?
To live in my heart is full trust in life. It is full openness to all that is. And I know I shared this, but like living in the heart comes from living in trust for where you are and acceptance for all that is. You know, the full spectrum of it. Like, it's not easy. Like, my marriage was fractured and then kind of burned to the ground. Trust in somebody I'd been with half of my life, almost 22 years, all the pivotal growth points, was now not a part of my life. And it doesn't matter that you're not, it doesn't mean that you don't feel the pain and the hurt and the betrayal and the sadness. But you feel it and you allow it to move through you. And I think what happens, Eden, is, you know, we look at ourselves and we're these human vessels, right? Holding spirit. And every day we have our own thoughts and emotions, and we have the emotions of our children and our relationships and our environments pouring into us, pouring into our minds. And we hold on to it all. And then our inner vessel gets blocked and resistant, and we're all then living up here. Instead of seeing life like it's meant to pour through us, we feel it in all the spectrum. We receive and hold its wisdom, and then we let it go. And this is the power of living in your heart and in your breath. And this is why yoga, the practice of yoga, has been so powerful to me, because breath is the current that moves through us. Breath is what keeps us awake and open in our hearts, so we're not living in our minds. And so when I lay in Shavasana every morning, I allow myself to feel what's in me, even the heaviness, even the pain, even the sorrow. And then I welcome the breath, my spirit, source, light, whatever however it resonates, to like move that through you so that I stay open in heart.
And so you're saying, coming back to the breath, that the breath is this important bridge that helps you connect with your heart and with what you're feeling.
Breath is the anchor. Breath is our life force, right? Like, we arrive on an inhalation. We will all leave these great bodies, become butterflies, angels on an exhalation. Breath is the current that grounds us in the power in our hearts. Breath is the link between mind and heart. But I think what needs to be reorganized is that we don't live from here and then come to here. We live from the heart. And the brilliance of our mind will always follow that. And that really has been my alignment, at least these last 10, 11 years, that I have lived from my heart. the intellect, the dreams, the visionary ways of my mind still follow. It doesn't mean that I'm not thinking and creating, but that creation is coming from the heart. And so when we live from here, we can't help but trust in life. Do I have fears every day? Yes, yes, yes. Do I worry? Yes. But I breathe and I land in my heart. And then it's like it dissolves because I don't let the narratives and fear of my mind override what my heart's. And it's the practice. That's why I really believe people are asking me, right? Like, well, how'd you do that? How'd you sell it all and just travel the world? It didn't just happen one day. It was a slow untethering, the slow letting go within every breath, every drip of sweat on my yoga mat, the trusting and anchoring into my heart. And that's where I believe it's the consciousness, it's our unlearning, it's our connection to self. Every single day, connection to heart. That really is the greatest work. It's what grounds us in the truth of who we are.
What does source mean to you?
Source is love. Source is light. Source is spirit. Source is abundance of nature around us. Source is in the waves that I ride. Source is what you feel when you jump into the ocean and feel held. Source is that feeling even when you're terrified, you know it'll all be okay. Source is what allows me not to fear like death. Like I do wake every day like thinking if this is not in a morbid way, but like if this is my last day on this planet, how would I live? Like I'm not fearful at all. Like source just allows us to look around us, the wonderment, the miracle of every day. Source keeps us right here. When we live from here, we might look around and be like, oh, I've got this to do, or, oh, look at this. It's like source keeps us held in curiosity, wonderment, just gratitude. And it is a daily practice, but shouldn't that be the heart of what we do? That is the call of being a human. Mm-hmm. You know, the greatest work, and I say this when I teach, but our greatest work, I believe, is keeping our inner body, our inner vessel, Eden, clear, because it is the lens through which we see all of life unfold and why we have different perspectives of the same thing. Mm-hmm. It begins in our inner body, our inner world. And so what if the call, even for our children, was to stay connected, knowing ourselves within, clear from within, because it's the window through which we see the world unfold and how we walk through the world.
Here you are, single mom, caring for 3 teenagers, getting your surfing groove on, exploring your connection to breath and trust and source. What then led you to plant medicine?
It's a beautiful question. What led me to trust to open to plant medicine was a trust in another man. And a man came into my life just for a short moment, and I know that he was kind of that spiritual bridge. Mm-hmm. He saw me. The moment that we met, he said, I see you're like this butterfly coming out of this chrysalis. And you know, Michael never saw that. I think that maybe my light, I'm not sure, was too bright for him to hold or didn't understand, but this person saw me. And in seeing me, it allowed me to see myself more. And in trusting in another man, he said to me, you know, you're the only yoga teacher here in Nosara that's probably never done plant medicine or smoked marijuana. He's like, it's shocking to me. And I'm like, no, I don't need it. I have my breath. I have my practice daily. It's my anchor. But maybe I'd be open. And so he shared a wonderful shaman, as you know, Ishel, here in Costa Rica. And I said yes to this opportunity. not even feeling like I necessarily needed it. But of course, like I was like, my intention was to reprogram the circuitry. And if there was any little points in my body that weren't illuminated to light, to just clear out if there was any final hurt or sadness, so that I would just be a conduit. My mantra every day is just to be a conduit of light to my girls, to my community, to the world, to my classes I teach. And that really is the heart of what leads me daily.
That's beautiful.
Stay open and clear.
It's really beautiful. Yeah, it's really service to other, coming from the heart. When we're locked in the ego, it often is a governor, meaning in the fear and in the desire. It's almost like a governor that we're blocking between the third and the fourth chakra, between the will center and the heart. And so what you're really speaking to is that you're working through, and we're always kind of moving up and down the chakras, the energy centers, but you're really speaking to living from the heart. It's really a theme, trust, and in this this time we're having together, it's a theme of trust and connecting with the heart. And that's really even planetarily where we're going and why we're here. It's a big part of our purpose is how can we move through the fear and desire of the ego and transition up into the heart chakra, moving from service to self, service to the ego, to service to other in love. So it's so beautiful that that's your daily mantra. It's just like, how can I show up and be a vessel of light?
Yeah, I feel like even in my hardest of times, I feel like I found healing, like even in those hardest of times to show up and teach a big class here in Osara. It's always the greatest gift in medicine to step out of yourself and serve.
Absolutely.
And I think we're kind of in the West sometimes taught the opposite now. Yes, I know you have to go through the darkness.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes this...
They can happen simultaneously.
Yeah.
It's not like an either or. And the service to other component, especially if we're able to, and this has been a challenge for me, disengage from wanting something back in return. It's so beautiful to be able to give with no expectation of everything in return, but literally because our cup runneth over.
Yes.
The abundance that we are in connection to source, we just simply allow ourselves. And this is something that I'm learning. I want to learn, and I want to dedicate my life to, is to be of service to other with no expectation of anything, but just to share what I love and what I'm passionate about.
Well, it's like unlocking the flow of life. Because when you share your gifts, it just naturally comes back in through you, and then it goes through you, right? It's like abundance in any form, whether that's monetary currency, anything, wisdom. It's like, this is the flow. This is what we're being called, right?
Yeah, you're drawing a wheel.
Yeah.
And it brings me back to the in-breath and the out-breath.
This is it.
I love what you said about, we're born with the in-breath, and then we die with the out-breath. And that is that grand cycle of giving and receiving, of receiving life and giving life.
I know now, Eden, that is what's carried me through, especially these last 3 years, with strength and grace and trust. To stay open to that. Even when it's like, has been financially trying, like to still give, to help people, like literally. And it just unlocks that fear, right? And when I want to coil up in my house and like write in my journal, but like, no, go teach a big class.
Yes.
Like move through the fear, move through the resistance. Like this is the power, I believe.
You are always so willing to drop whatever you're doing to give and to serve. That's beautiful. That's a life well lived. So tell me, sister, about your stepping into medicine exploration with Ishal.
Yakumama.
Yeah.
So of course, Ishal came in as this beautiful earth angel gifted by my friend and shared with your beautiful wife. And profound timing of that medicine coming in. The mother medicine of ayahuasca is what I did. Went right to it. And I had no fear. You know, my call was just to clear my vessel and to just illuminate myself from the inside, and whatever this mother medicine needed to strip out to show me more wisdom of who I am and deeper connection to self is what I was open to. And that first experience, Eden, was so profound those 2 days. And I know the medicine worked because I hadn't seen Michael in almost 8 months. And the final day of that plant medicine, I received a message that said he would be coming back through Nosara in 2 days. And of course, even though I feel like I had forgiven and cleared and there was space, there's still triggers. I'm a human, right? And he shows up, and I literally had a lens of clarity and compassion. It was like I could just see, not in a romantic love, but in a love, a deep understanding, to just meet him where he was and to cook a meal and have him over with the girls and sit at the table. Not like old times, like we're that family, but in a new way. And to hold the space of love. And it was because that I had received this profound healing and clearing of this ayahuasca. You know, this plant medicine that's been around for thousands of years to essentially tune us back to our highest frequency of love. We arrived into these vessels as babies. It's just pure light. And so life happens for us all in intense ways. And we become calcified and their little lights dim or completely dim. And like this medicine's here to return us to our essence. And it was so profound. I remember the last night in ceremony, Ishal was dancing and singing these beautiful angelic hymns, as you know, and I was in it. I just saw myself. I was like, I just wish I could get up and sing and dance, but I don't sing. And there's no way I can dance right now. And so at the end, I was intrigued. I was like, I'm not done with this. And I was intrigued even on like an education level. I'm like, where does this come from? I want to know the tribes, world school. I want to understand. And a couple weeks after that, Ishal messaged and said, I know you just did medicine, but if you want to come back, the Yawanawa tribe, the head of the Amazon, is coming to Yakumama. I'd love for you to come, but it's going to be wildly different. It's not just two of you and me now in private ceremony. It would be a big tribe and other people. And I was like, wow. I was really called, but I was like, I can't leave my girls again. And then by all accounts, Spirit wanted me to go. And I went back just 6 weeks later to sit in a different way. I wanted to just have the lens of education. Like I just wanted to understand what is the heart of this medicine. Like I wanted to hear. And I didn't realize the chief who was delivering it is the head of the Amazon. He goes to general council around the world talking to leaders of the world about ayahuasca.
So what was it like?
So he stood up there the first night. And again, I didn't know this would be the chief that was delivering his featherhead dress on. I didn't know what to expect, actually. And it brought me chills. And I just almost started sobbing. And he stood up there. And he's an elder. He's in his 60s. And he said, I don't stand up here as a philosopher, as a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a master. I am plant. I am animal, and I am one with all. And he said, and this medicine holds the feminine wisdom of compassion, of our connection to love, that will heal this world. And so this is before I took the medicine. I was like, oh, this is why I came. This is profound. Now I want to go to Brazil. And that night I took the medicine, and it was wildly different because now there's a fire and there's singing and loud voices and lots of people, 60 people. And I have to be honest, Eden, I felt like I was dropped into a demonic carnival, and I was terrified, and it was the most horrendous night of my life. Truly. I was like, wow, this is like, feels like I'm in a cult. Like, this is scary. And the next day I went to Michelle, my dear sister, and I said, look, I don't think I'm going to do this second night. Like, that was really scary. Like, actually that did not feel right in my soul. And she said, remember, it's a mirror. What is it reflecting? Why does a deep male voice feel like it's demonic to you? She said, what if we go and we learn the chants and you understand the words? And she said, what if you try to dance? And I was like, well, there's no way I can dance. I can't even stand up. She's like, don't take as much. And one thing to know with me, with that Taurus spirit, is like, I'm full on in on everything. Yeah. If you're going to offer 3 offerings of ayahuasca, I'm going to take them. So I approached it differently, right? Yeah. When they offered it, I just took a little tiny bit. And I just wanted to be and have full presence. And then I wanted to stand up and dance and let the medicine, as she described, move through you literally, which is profound, a wildly different way to like dance and let it literally move through your veins like it's running through all the channels of your body. And that's what I did. And it was this wildly different, illuminating experience. But then the chief offered another serving, and I took a bit. And finally, I was like, you know what? I'll just do it. And so as I took a final serving that night, the most profound experience happened, and I felt like I was dying. My body got cold, and I tensed up, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. And so everyone who was in it, in this intense atmosphere. And I actually physically felt like I was dying. I was terrified. Wow. And I went and I had to go get Ishel, which I had to find her. I'm like, look, could you help me? Like, I know how to breathe. I know how to breathe. This has been what I do for. And I'm like, I can't breathe. I feel like my breath is coming out of my body and I'm dying. And she's like, you need to lay down. And she put her hand on my heart and she's like, you need to breathe. Close your eyes. This might be the most profound death out of death. And I closed my eyes and I saw my spirit talk to my girls, like the message I would leave them if I were leaving my body, what I would leave them with, the wisdom. And then it was like surrender. And I woke up, Eden. And it was the greatest death I'd probably ever have out of dying. And Michael was in every fiber within my being. He was in with every cell within my being. He was a part of me for 22 years of my life. And I didn't realize he had to die out of me. And there would have been no other way except through this profound plant medicine. Literally extracted. And I don't want to say extracted Michael fully out of me because the goodness and the love that we shared will always be there, right? Like the girls. But it was the greatest dying to then allow me to blossom and bloom open into who I'm supposed to be. Wildly profound.
Do you feel that first night that really felt like a carnival? And I know that part of my first journey with ayahuasca, it felt like a bad carnival ride. I couldn't get off. Yeah. There was no button to hit for me to get off. And that's when surrender comes in. You know, it's like such a big part of these medicine journeys is the art of surrender. Do you feel like that first night you were struggling with surrender, or was it just what was needed to get you to that second night and have the experience that you had, the build up and the fight that we often have with ourselves? Because I know that was a big part of my process was in ayahuasca was the fight I had with myself. I had to go through a knockdown, drag out brawl with myself before I could come through. So tell me.
It's an interesting question because I feel like I'm so good with surrendering. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely have will and like resilience and fight, but like, you have to surrender before you trust, right? So I like feel like I have a lot of surrender to trust in life, but I had to feel that first night. I think I did. I think there was something about that being a mirror,
Yeah.
a darkness to feel like I didn't realize was in me, right? The holding on that I thought I'd forgiven. No, I was still holding on to a lot.
Yeah, it's like we don't know, and that's the
We don't
beautiful
know.
gift of these sacred medicines is they allow us to cultivate perception of our blind spots and the shadows that we don't even know we have or that we're carrying. What a beautiful second journey that you had. Wow. The bravery to meet yourself and to meet your death in that way. To meet your death so that you could truly live. I mean, that's profound.
Profound. I mean, yeah, it's revealed so much depths that I just don't know if I'd ever get to in this lifetime, truly, without that.
Yeah. Takes big courage to step into that arena, especially with no, previous,
Never.
It's like
Psychedelic experience at all. Yeah, and fast forward a year, a friend came in to know Sarah who was interested to do ayahuasca. I said, you have to go with Ishal. And he said, well, I'd love for you to come. So I wasn't planning on it, but this third and final experience that I've had with ayahuasca, I went to Yakumama once again. And my intention was to hold the space and just be with him to hold the space. And what was revealed to me was the heart of what this medicine was.
Really?
As a viewer. So I sat there and I only took a little bit of ayahuasca, and my intention was to hold the container of love. And I said this to Dan. I said, I'm just here to hold the space for you.
Yeah.
So that you have a profound. And Eden, what happened? I sat the entire night. You know how long those ceremonies can be, 8 hours. I sat up straight. And it was like I was watching a film. One being after the other walk through the maluka. 2 beings of light flanked his shoulders. Another person came in and put this white golden globe over his head. And then I saw I had felt the spiritual doctors, but I watched beings literally come in, seeing his circuitry of his body, some of it not lit, and them working to relight it. I didn't take any more medicine. I was fully present. And I watched the whole night, all these angels, these beings tending to his spirit, to his vessel, caring and loving on him. And I watched this friend. It was like he was like an old best friend, guy his age, come up and like lean against him. And they were both just so joyous to see each other. They were having the best time, just Dan leaning on him, just feeling ever supported the whole night. And this was my experience, watching in a viewer way this film of ayahuasca.
Wow.
And the power of how many angels are around us to support us and to care for us and to love us. And the next morning at breakfast, my friend Dan said, he shared his experience. He said, my really good friend that had passed not long ago, I just kept feeling him like he was there. And I said, he was there, I saw him. And his eyes, and he started like crying, and Ishal, and I shared with this Ishal, and Ishal said, this is the medicine.
Wow.
We are so held. We are so cared for by so many angels.
And the power of the ego, for whatever reason, tends to block so much of that. And wow, for you to witness it. I mean, Deva, my wife, is an intuitive, and she gets to interface with disembodied beings on a daily basis, but I don't. And just to hear you share this third set of journeys with Aya, and that you were able to really witness what Dan was experiencing, and to see the angelic beings come in and do the psychic surgery. It's just
Profound.
It's incredible. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know about that.
The second night of this journey,
Yeah.
Ishel said, you need your intention. And I'd share with her my dreams of world school and, where I'm feeling called for the world. And she said, set your intention. So I go in and I take the medicine. And right away, Eden, it's like I'm locked down in this spiritual straitjacket. Like I'm slammed to the ground and tightened like this, right? And I'm forging back and forth and I'm like literally feeling like I'm being spiritually trained on my path.
So you had your first night of your third journey at Yakumama with Ishel, and you were there with your friend Dan, and you were there to support and serve. And you had this incredible first night, and then you were sharing that Ishel said, Ellen, I really want you to focus on your intention for the second night, because with Ishel you do a two night with a break in between journey with her. So tell me about that second journey and your
I
intention.
just love her. She's such an angelic woman to hold this space and container, and she knew that I needed to focus, and for her too to pour her heart and energy, which I think is so profound, the way she can hold this space. And my intention was clear. It was to clear out anything that is holding me back from, again, just being the greatest light to the world and just inspire others. And that was my intention. And so I take the medicine and right away, received what I thrown into that spiritual straitjacket, right? The challenge, you're thrown in and you're almost being just sized to be on your path and stay focused. And it was hard. It was there was no purging. It was just it felt like intense military training of the spirit. And then you're thrown into the depths of abyss where it's all extracted, right? You're hearing, you're not a mom, you're not a world school mom, you're not a yoga teacher. What are you, right? The emptiness, if it's all the labels are extracted. And then back to that spiritual straitjacket of the challenge. And then ultimately what happened, Eden, was I was thrown out of this military spiritual training. And this huge illuminated arc appears. And the world was through that arc. And I was thrown out. And all I hear was, now go lead the world. And all of a sudden, I started dying laughing. So loud, rumbling, roaring. And all I heard was, and have fun while doing it. And my friend Dan's over in his own thing, and he stands up and he's like, is Mardi Gras going on over there? I could not stop laughing for about 45 minutes, dying laughing.
Wow.
And I had to go out of the Maluka and ground myself in the earth and look up at the bright sky and just feel anchored. And it was wow, now go lead the world and don't forget the joy and fun while doing it. Stay focused on your path. It was profound, and that was my last experience, and it's what really has led me this last year and a half. What if the greatest work was to stay clear in our inner body and clear in our vessel and in our energy and say no to the shoulds. Be really mindful of relationship and your environments, the energy that's around you, right?
Ellen, I just want to honor you for your courage and your willingness to meet yourself and your death and your life. And then you have told me, but I haven't heard the story, that you had a profound experience with MDMA. And can you share with me how that came to be? Because that's another medicine.
Yeah. Eden, it's interesting because as we know, the path of healing, right? What I've realized, it's we're never done healing. We get through something big, we feel light and clear. And I believe, and that's why I love to share this even in sharing yoga and being a teacher. It's be compassionate with yourself.
Yes.
Because, oh my goodness, we are all healing for, like, this is the point of being a human.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever it is, addictions, this, that, like, we're always, like, are we ever fully healed? Can we just accept this as part of being a human with compassion for ourselves and for each other?
Yes.
And so I only say that because, of course, I had my ayahuasca experience and, like, I have my daily practice, and still life accumulates in our relationships. And my relationship with their dad, like, right, we're always united because of our girls, but it's hard. And our children have their own challenges, right? And so this past spring, I was just having a lot of challenge. I was feeling a lot of heaviness about my middle daughter, Kaya, and some challenge she was going through, and just relationship with Michael, my ex. And it was around my birthday in April, and I was actually physically feeling heavy in my heart. Like, I couldn't take a deep breath, literally. And I'm like, I felt like my psoas or something was stuck, or I just couldn't take a deep breath. Mm-hmm. And so of all the modalities I know, I'm like, even in my breath work, I'm like, and that went on for a few weeks. And it was around my birthday, and I wanted to do a big coffee scrub ceremony to say thank you to friends and community here in Nosara.
I just have to interrupt and share with the world that Ellen is the absolute queen of coffee scrubs on Playa Guiones. And every time Dave and I do a retreat, we do coffee scrub and yoga with you on the playa, and you're always connecting and sharing your love with people through these beautiful coffee scrubs. But I just wanted to plug that because it's so amazing and it feels so good.
So good.
It feels so good.
Just the gift of allowing people to feel a new glow, pull back, like literally scrub away the layers, but like energetically, emotionally, so that we just leave with a new glow. And that's what I wanted to give people on my birthday, to say thank you.
Yeah.
So I show up in it, it was hard. I was like in a sad time, honestly. And I was just feeling heavy. I was like, I hadn't cried that much even when my marriage broke up. I was just feeling sad about just this challenge with Kaya and, just the motherhood. And a friend came up to me and she's like, I don't know why, but she's like, I've been hearing your name and I need to gift you. And this might sound weird, but would you ever want to do an MDMA journey? And I was like, I thought I was done with plant medicine. And I was like, you know what? Absolutely. Because I'm in a hard time. And lo and behold, again, how spirit works. There happened to be a space up the mountain and my girls were okay. And I left for a day and I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I go and my intention was just to clear out this sadness, this pain. Now, let me just tell you, 2 days prior to this journey, I got a call from a cousin. And this cousin of mine, her mother was like a mother to me, my mom's best friend. And my Aunt Mary passed suddenly 2 years ago. And she had a fire like me. Like, she was just kind of the black sheep. She did her own thing. She was energetic. She worked a lot. And she always saw me. And she always said, Ellen, you're just a force. She's like, your mom doesn't get you. I see you. You're just a force. And that's just why. But she's like, and we just had this tight bond. So when she left, it was so sad and hard. But I always see her. I see her wings in the sky here in Guiones. And I know she's right there with me. But her daughter has had a hard time, of course, losing her mother. And her daughter called and she said, our cousin Karen. So Karen was one of the first teachers that I trained in my hot yoga studio. And we shared the same birthday. And she said Karen was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and she's in hospice. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And she was really distraught. And I was like, wow. And so I go into this journey, right? Actually, the next day, which is interesting, I go to a workshop. This is before my MDMA. And I'm at a workshop here in Nosara with Zach Bush. And the first 5 minutes, Zach stands up and he shares his background. And he says that he was a hospice doctor for many years.
Right.
And that not only has he seen what has come after when people leave, but he's actually seen profound healing of people walking out of hospice. And how much of cancer is what we're pulling through our lineage trauma. So just leave it there. Then the next day I go into this MDMA. And, I was in my sadness. And that was my intention.
I just want to interrupt you for a second. I'm sorry. So what he was saying was that a lot of the cancer is related to the ancestral trauma
that we're pulling up through and we're holding.
That we're carrying.
We're carrying.
With us. Okay, I wanted clarity on that.
Yeah, sorry about that. And that was good. And it didn't really, I thought about it because of Karen and hospice.
Yeah.
But then I was in my MDMA journey. And my intention was, again, to just release sadness, to release this heaviness. And Eden, I'm like, how I've lived my life, I haven't really taken, because it's literally been, I just forge forward. I pause in gratitude, but I don't pause to reflect a lot. Not in a bad or good way. It's I just keep moving forward in life and creating and being. So I take this, and the moment I take this medicine, I start to feel my Aunt Mary right here. She actually even says she's there.
Yeah.
And I start to feel all these women in my lineage that have held repression and alcoholism and eating disorders and abuse and having to close their hearts and just stay. And I literally start to feel this pull from my left heel and wave all the way through my right shoulder. It was like waves, and I just start this indigenous breathing that I've never done, blowing it out of me, feeling it like waves, but not in this way that I need to purge in ayahuasca. MDMA is just this angelic, compassionate. It was I felt like I was just being held by angels, and my Aunt Mary that was pulling it up through me, right? And this went on. And then I felt Karen, my cousin, and I felt her pulling it up through her left heel. And it gets stuck right in the pancreas. And I felt it. It was Karen was a force in our family. It's a big Irish family. So I was really a key force. I opened the hot yoga studios. A lot of my cousins taught. It was liberation for a lot of my family and community. And then Karen was this other anchor. So we were big anchors in our family. And so here she was pulling it up, getting stuck. I saw it, I felt it. And this went on. And I felt Karen doing her work, but it's sticking. And then all I heard was, she's healed. She's healed. And I kept saying, wow. And if I said wow in this ceremony one time, I said it 5,000 times. I said wow the entire night. Because I was seeing revelations of my whole life.
Yeah.
And then I heard she's healed. And then what I saw and what I heard is, you don't understand your journey. Your journey has been about liberation, not just for yourself, but for lineages.
Yes.
You opened these studios you thought were just hot yoga studios. They were a vehicle of liberating women in the Midwest. Your cousins like Karen that were teachers.
Yes.
Hot yoga is a practice of freedom, liberation. Moksha was the name of the studio's liberation. And not until these studios were grounded as a lighthouse in the city of Cincinnati and recognizes that, were you able to leave and step into the world. This wasn't a journey of world school. This was a journey of liberation. You cut out of a fabric of your lineage to reweave a new way, not just for your girls, but for generations to come. And I say this because I didn't realize what I was carrying in my cells, because it showed me, like, you've had all these modalities of sweating, of purging, of cleansing, right? Like this, of like feeling strong, because you've literally carried generations in your physical body. And you've like been pulling this, like literally pulling this through the world to try to do different and to reweave different. like to forge these hot yoga studios in an area where people thought yoga was actually evil was crazy. And people always gave me the over under, and they became like this. And it's like, I did it, not just through the power of my spirit, but through like the community cultivated. And so this medicine showed me like my spiritual journey in life of liberation for my family, for my girls. And when I walked into the world, I saw and I listened to the stories, the liberation of women, the struggles, the resilience. And that I saw this call of why I've created, which we'll talk about, the Ohana Project, of harnessing the wisdom of women to liberate girls, to give them the tools to know themselves and to forge their path. And that my path, I had to go through all this. I had to go through the self-destruction, the challenge. It's like with eyes of compassion, I had to actually go through it. What was revealed, I had to go through early in my marriage. Betrayal that I knew. And I stayed and I carried it in my cells because I had to feel it as women did in my lineage.
Yes.
And not until ultimately it happened, then I could make the choice that I'll do different. I won't repress. I won't tuck my chin and close my heart. I'll move forward liberating myself. But in deep gratitude to Michael, we had our shared journey. With eyes of compassion, I literally had to go through it. Mm-hmm. All the hurt, holding it, all the pain, feeling sad, alone, with such compassion. He was the portal to freedom and liberation. He allowed me and helped me open these studios of moksha. He said yes to taking this crazy journey. He didn't even know where we were going into the world. And then I had to untether from it. And in the untethering was the liberation. And what it brought, this MDMA journey at the end, was this vast awareness of my life. Like full awareness, Eden. And then what it brought was wholeness. The healing of the masculine is actually what I needed. Wholeness. It was profound. It was, to be able to see your life with, we know this, but every relationship, beautiful and challenging, every struggle we have, all of this, a weaving of the tapestry that holds us where we are. And to have compassion of gratitude and awareness, understanding for it all. It was like, wow. It was a wow journey.
So beautiful. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
I really appreciate being with you and hearing you share.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any parting words? And we can, share about your projects in the show notes and people can learn more. And we'll have links too.
I think I'm just really grateful to be able to share. And, it's the stories of others that have inspired me to walk forward with openness and heart and courage. And so I think just in sharing, we inspire each other. And it's not just sharing, but it's like sharing moves us into action and how we live. And so I'm really grateful that I get to go to your beautiful sanctuary too of true nature and share the Ohana Project and share this path of motherhood untethered and just walk forward, as I step into this new realm of my girls leaving the nest. It's like now I know that it's the call to be a mother to the world and just share in a new way. And
thank you so much for sharing your stories of connection. Beautiful meetings and courage. And thank you for making the world a better place by being born and living your dharma. Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Blessings.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you for joining me on Connection is the Medicine. This podcast is sponsored by the Connection is the Medicine Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to co-creating connection to self, community, nature, and spirit. I hope this conversation inspires you to connect with deeper meaning and purpose in your life. To learn more about our offerings at True Nature in Carbondale, Colorado, and Loma Sagrada in Nosara, Costa Rica, please visit connectionisthemedicine.com. Blessings on your day, and I look forward to visiting with you again soon.